Hello and welcome to the Birth Untethered podcast. I'm Shellie, a long-time doula, advocate and former university lecturer.
And I'm Kemi, a badass birth keeper, formerly a UK registered midwife.
Just a couple of rebels with decades of combined experience in pregnancy, birth and beyond getting together to share wisdom. We exist to equip birth workers, families and seekers of truth with informed choice, not fear. Come as you are, learn what they don't teach. This is the Birth Revolution and you're all invited. Welcome to this episode of the Birth Untethered podcast with me and Kemi, and we have got a lovely couple with us today, Alex and Becca, who are going to talk to us about their pregnancy and birth journey, which I'm very excited about. Kemi, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello! I'm very excited. I love to hear birth stories. I get very excited.
So should we start with, when you were you planning your pregnancy? Had you got an idea of what you wanted your pregnancy and birth to look like before pregnancy started? Or was it things happened and then you were like, oh, okay, we want to think about what we want to do? Had you planned very much in advance, or were you winging it, basically?
Probably have different answers to this.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Well, before I even got pregnant, I'd been a nanny and I worked for some human rights lawyers that specialise in birth rights. So I'd heard about some of the services. So I kind of thought, they had a home birth, and I thought, oh, home birth, that would be lovely, home birth in water. And then in truth, when I then got pregnant, I didn't even know you're meant to tell the GP. So I was just like, oh, what do you do now? And then I was like, well, why would I tell the GP? and that kind of went from there, and I decided on a wild pregnancy, but you probably have a different...
Yeah, we got told quite early on that Bex was never going to be able to have kids because of some like lower AMH or something. So before we don't even really started trying, we would just kind of resided to the fact of like, oh, IVF, and we'll end up going down that route. And then we started the IVF kind of consultation process, and the hospital we were going to were about to have a standard close down to clean it down over Christmas, and we went in for the initial check, but Bex had too many cysts. Large cysts on her ovary, so we couldn't start. We sat in the car and were like, perfect, in a way, like, let's just take a pause, have a breath. Bex had just finished a master's degree, and we just thought, let's go to natural for a bit, and
let's just take 6 months
and just see what happens. Yeah. And that was it, really. We then got pregnant when we never thought we'd be able to do it this way, without That's injections amazing. And whatever else. So that was a proper gift, because I'd almost resigned to the fact that we were never going to have one, which was sad. And I just said we were going to get more dogs.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And,
furry baby.
Got to fill the house with something.
Yeah, for sure. And then, well, it was you. I didn't know anything about Freebirth, wild pregnancy. I couldn't even spell the word doula. Like, I'd never heard of any of it. It was very much like, oh, you just go into like the system and you pump a baby out with nurses and doctors and midwives around, and that was it. So it was a real educational journey.
And when you were, it will unfold, when you were, I'd say confronted maybe, with the full range of options with regard to pregnancy and birth, can I ask how it made you feel inside? Did it make you nervous? Was it like an aha moment? You know, before you actually had your baby, but just when you were looking ahead at what your journey was going to be and seeing how it differed from what you thought it would be, did it make you happy? Nervous? How did it make you feel? If you don't mind me asking, Alex.
Imagine
I think we'll probably have quite different answers throughout.
Yeah.
I part of the reason I'd also wanted to free birth, and just for the record, in my mind, free birthing was trying to have a home birth, a water birth specifically, and And obviously we knew that we were only a mile from the hospital, so we would always, in an emergency situation, gone to a hospital.
Excellent.
But so it wasn't like a total disregard for the system, but it was I had wanted to do it because I've lived my life, and I won't go into all of this obviously, but I'd lived my life quite a lot with fear in the driving seat. And I actually had thought about the birthing process as being almost like a rite of passage from like an ancestry point of view. I know that, we can pass things in utero and all of that sort of stuff. So I'd kind of wanted to actually have a birth that was free from fear. That was actually kind of my main point, which is why I then chose a free birth without medical intervention, because I know, and that fear has to be and is currently a big part of the system, and actually it was more about wanting to give myself and my baby that kind of emotional, free from as much trauma as possible situation. And just to be as calm as possible. And I think, obviously you were there, Shellie, but I think it was a pretty calm birth, and fear wasn't really there. Now, also, I do appreciate that might have put more fear onto Alex, but yeah, that was always sort of my intention, rather than it being kind of free birth versus hospital, if that makes sense. It
That
just so
makes
happened
sense. And you're right, that it's tangible, the fear that comes from the registrants or the birth professionals. And so if you're going to where there's a lot of them, there's going to be a lot more fear. And so it makes sense to me. But you just mentioned that you're not sure how Alex may have felt about the options that were being chosen by you. I don't want there to be a fight on here in the podcast, but Alex, you can tone down whatever your thoughts really were. You can
No.
But I just think it would be really interesting for other partners.
Yeah, of course. Bex and I have spoken about this a lot. And again, without going into too much detail, I guess my background is more of a traditional medical route with my family and friends. So not only did I have zero knowledge about this process, but my immediate perception was, that's dangerous, what if something goes wrong, jumped straight to almost worst case scenario. So the easiest way of describing it was a journey, without being fluffy and
lots of conversations, and obviously
really good.
Shellie, this is going to be a real Shellie fan show as well, because Shellie, not only the conversations we had with you, but the content that you pointed us to, but also your own content, that was brilliant to really showcase all the different kind of facets and parts and
just the knowledge of it as well. Knowledge is power. There's lots of stuff we didn't know about birth.
Yeah, and I clocked on quite quickly, not just during the birth process, but when Bex and I started dating. She's quite a determined woman, that she's clocked onto this, and there's not much that's going to change her mind, so I better get on board. So I think that was it really. I just tried to educate myself as much as possible, and we engaged with other professionals. It wasn't like we were completely anti medical help, but we had a private midwife, we did private scans, but it was on our schedule as such, and you're not then going into a hospital or being surrounded by that fear. And that I think that helped as well, because it kind of softened some of my angst. I wanted to hear his heartbeat, I wanted to see an image of him and stuff like that, and also I wanted to see a medical professional.
And that was the compromise I made.
But yeah, no,
very,
it was
good.
We made it work, and
that was well navigated. And Alex, I do want to commend you, because obviously your hormones and the way we are guided by society, it's how could you not be worried, concerned, looking at what people are doing around you and going in a very different direction. You love her and your child. So I'm just saying that you having those feelings, but then working with them to the best of your ability was really amazing.
Yeah, no, I think that you just mentioned something then about society. So, a lot of my friends had babies quite a few years before us, and I guess within my friendship group, we're last in that sense. And I'd seen them go through the system, and some of them had more complicated ones, some of them had fairly straightforward births, but they'd all gone into a hospital and midwives and all that set up. So again, I did feel that I retracted from speaking to really anyone. So that made it kind of hard, because if I was asked why, I never felt truly comfortable being like, oh, we're doing it because, well, we're making the choice fundamentally, or we feel it's a safer option with all the research that we've done at the time. And also, as Beck said, we lived so close to a hospital that if something did go south, we could sort it out quickly. So that was probably trickier. That the society.
It's very difficult when everybody does like the status quo, and you're doing something different. And the default that many people have when you're doing something different is to think that you're attacking their choice rather than you are just choosing something that feels right for you. And around birth, it's very emotive, isn't it? So if you say, "Oh, actually, we're doing something different. This is what we're planning," people pile their trauma or their fear or their thoughts onto that. And their like fear of that danger that you had at the beginning before you started to explore things and realise, oh, okay, this is how physiology works best. And actually those things are going to interrupt that, and they are more likely to make it more dangerous. And we know that there's help there if we need it at any point. We understand what the signs might be that we might need that help. And actually staying away unless it's required feels safer for us. And it's not that you're judging other people, but often other people feel that. Well, why aren't you going to the hospital? That's what you should do. Well, you know, because they're in their mind, they haven't explored those things. They haven't understood that knowledge that you have gained through, you know, our chats and everything you've listened to and everything you've read and all that kind of thing. So I think it's a very common place that people sit, and I often have people that are, you know, wanting to home birth or wanting to free birth, and they actually have to think quite carefully about who they tell or who they speak to, because the other people's like energy and trauma coming in then is difficult. You're having to deal with their fear, and you don't want to fall out with people that you care about, but actually sometimes you just want to like, wake up, what are you guys doing?
When we were getting into research, God, I feel like I'm talking loads.
No.
And learning more about the power of oxytocin and making sure that Bex can almost be in this like Zen state, I just had this image of Bex, we like get in the car, go to a hospital and go through that kind of journey where you can't keep her on a high. And when we actually get talking about the birth, I think that's why it was as swift as it was, because Bex's oxytocin was just so high for so long. Okay, there's no way I can prove that, but other than the time of how long it took and how easy Bex, I know I can put words in your mouth, but you've said it, how easy you found the actual birth.
And can I add, Alex, as well, that you know when you were very selective about who you shared with, it was beneficial for you as a trio that you did that, because even if you tried to hide your feelings from Becca, it would have been quite challenging to do so, because especially it's not like you're receiving opinions from perfect strangers you don't care about. They'll be your friends, your colleagues, your family. And so even if you're trying to not pass on to Becca all the fear-mongering, it's just going to be in your energy field. So and by you being very selective about that, it meant that Becca didn't need to wade through so much energy to get her baby outside.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, just to put a bit of colour on that, like, I remember asking a bunch, we were at an event with a bunch of my mates, and I was like, oh, go on then, give us some tips for the birth. And one of them said, just don't look. And in my head I was like, what? Like, hey, I'm curious, I'm going to look. Before I even knew all this stuff, of course I'm going to bloody look. And I'm not leaving Bex there by herself, but that's kind of the world I was coming from. So this was so alien to me, and I was really having to like break out of kind of my institutionalized knowledge as such.
Can I add some colour to that as well? When that person that said that to you, just by what we know is happening on labour wards, that advice may have been appropriate for him, because he might have had to watch forceps.
Really good point.
Going inside of a woman, or a scissors taken to her genitals, or so that may really apply for the majority of men attending births.
I hadn't thought of that.
Whilst I love that you actually thought, no, I'm going to look. It's almost like a precursor to the kind of birth that unfolded, where you actually get to see magic, not harm,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Except the pooper scooping, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Well, even that in itself, we went on a real, my everything from my Instagram to my YouTube completely stopped being sports and business and self-help to all of a sudden I'm constantly staring at vaginas with babies coming out. And
that's like mine. Sounds like my feed.
We turned Alex into a birth nerd.
because I was like...
Yeah, no, we did it fully absorb.
I was like, I've just got to see it. I've got to see as many births as I can. There was a brilliant Birth in Focus. That was a brilliant book to learn about the intricacies.
That book.
That was a brilliant book.
It's
bloody graphic. Trigger warning if you're not ready for that stuff. But you need to, if you're going to take this seriously, there's 1,000,001 variables. So
you can't just watch don't
watch
TV
pretty
shows
ones with fairy lights. Watch the shit shows and the blood shows and God knows what else.
Birth in Focus by Becky Reed, guys. It's a real good book.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of conversations, didn't we, about, when you are stepping aside from the system, it's there in the periphery, but you are taking radical responsibility for your health and well-being through your pregnancy and through your birth, and that communication with each other and with anybody who's there caring for you, like I was as your doula, is so important that you feel safe to say how you're really feeling, because otherwise things can be missed, and there can be things that crop up. And so having that kind of relationship where you have really open discussion, and any time that something comes up in your mind, we just hop on a Zoom and have a chat, or come round and see you and talk through things to help. I think that for me that's really important for a birth, and it's it actually builds this kind of amazing strength through a pregnancy that then goes into the birth and then onward into parenthood, where you have this one. You guys have great communication anyway, but I think for a lot of couples they would be frightened to say something, and so I do try to, when I'm working with people, to actually bring up difficult things and say, let's actually talk about this, let's get it in the open. And with that extra person, it can sometimes be easier to say things than when you're on your own, if that makes sense. So I think that's an important part of the journey, and you two do that so well, really communicate with each other about what you're feeling and things. So
when we're on podcasts, we do.
Well, you have always with me too, right? So I think it's really good.
You kind of have to if you date a therapist, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So through the pregnancy, as things were going on, so I know that you saw a private midwife really to get your MATB1 form, for work and things like that, and you had a few private scans because you wanted to take a little peek at the little one. Did you at any point, either of you, during the pregnancy feel, I wish I was going to see a medical professional to be examined and checked?
It's a hard no. Not at any given point for me.
No, again, only if someone at work or a friend had asked, I'd be like, have you had this check? I'd be like, most of the time I'd either lie, I'd just be like, yeah, we had that, and then I'd just try and curve away.
No, that's wise. Just lie. Yeah, because you don't need their negative, fearful energy.
Yeah, and then I'd quickly either get on ChatGPT or Google on the NHS website, what is that check? Those were probably the only moments, and I think there was another, gestational diabetes came up in conversation, only again because a friend had got it, and we were like, oh, we should like look into this. And so Bex started doing the piss dip tests or whatever it's called.
So because obviously with Shellie we engaged you like very early on. I think it was before even 12 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
Before
think
the
it was quite
12
early.
week
I think
mark or
you've been. You said to me you'd been stalking me on Instagram for a
Were
while.
you-
Yeah.
were you pregnant?
Yeah, we were
Right.
pregnant. We didn't engage you just before. But
During sex.
I think
When you've gone to the bathroom, she called Shellie and said, "I think I might be pregnant."
no, I think all the things that I'd heard anyway, that having the urine checks and checking your blood pressure regularly, at the sort of midwife appointments, we just did that at home. So I never once had anything in my urine that suggested, because this is the part with Freebirth, right? If something was detected, or if maybe that question, I'd give you a different answer. But my blood pressure always stayed under. In fact, my blood pressure when I was 8 months pregnant,
Yeah,
and 9 months was better than Alex's and my brother's.
Yeah, 'cause
Wow.
we bought a monitor. I mean, when your brother came round,
Yeah,
let's not talk why that was that high. But yours, and I was like still training loads and everything. Yours was
yeah.
Wow.
very impressive.
Yeah. But again, don't they say white collar or something about the blood pressure going into a hospital? Because I have
Yeah.
had my blood pressure checked in a hospital once, and they had to do it a few times because it was really high. And I
Yeah.
assume it was just because I was literally in hospital, I can't remember what for.
White coat syndrome, it's called.
That's it,
About
that's it.
60% of pregnant women have it.
So that's very high. So then, who knows? If I'd gone in, my blood pressure might have been completely different. Every
Absolutely.
time. Whereas at home, checking it regularly, and we sort of got quite obsessed with it, didn't we? We were like checking it loads. Like after eating a meal, it was like, is it higher now? So I think obviously, if those things, we weren't doing it sort of belligerently or stupidly. If something had come up that felt important, that obviously, is then necessary to have some, some sort of medical intervention or,
Well, at least have
Go
a
to a
look
homeopath
to
or
see if
whatever.
there's anything else going on. Yeah, personally, I would just stick with homeopaths, naturopaths, herbalists, to be honest.
I think-
Functional medicine doctors, even. But
Yeah.
if you were to have a normal blood pressure now, they're changing the parameters for what is a normal blood pressure. We all know why, but we don't need to talk about it. It's obviously being lowered so that they can treat more people, so that they can raise more funds.
Yeah.
But so still, I 100% agree with you. I think medicalised maternity care is there for if you want it or need it. But you still got to be really careful once you go to the system to get more information or get treatment or whatever. You still got to be really discerning. Even if you're saying, "Oh well, it's outside what I consider to be normal," you still got to be really vigilant. So I would always advise, if you do go and seek help from them, that you take an advocate with you. So that could be your hubby or your doula.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I also think one thing that I was just thinking about this now that I started to really get comfortable with during the process is, so Becca's mentioned she's a therapist and she's obviously had loads of therapy over the years, and she does a lot of like 5 elements acupuncture and a lot of like centering, grounding work. So kinesiology. So she truly like understands her body. But like I was listening to the baby through Bex and how Bex was like interacting with him through her tummy, and
Yes.
and that was quite calming because obviously I trust Bex with everything, so I fully trusted that if she felt something was untoward, she'd be like, we need to go see help with this, or whatever the course of action would be. So yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, I think I always say to people that your intuition in pregnancy is really like a superpower. And actually, even if everything's looking fine, but the mum feels like something is not right, that for me is, okay, that's enough to let's go and find out. Let's do some more checking to see if they have a concern, because it really is like a superpower, and it's something that is so ignored often. And obviously in every safety report we see from institutions, it is ignored, and women and babies lose their life because they're not listened to. And if they had been listened to, it would have saved the day often. And so and I think that when people engage with the system, they are really very much handing over their well-being, they're handing over monitoring of their well-being to someone else. It's like, I'm giving you this responsibility to check my things all the time, to look at, tell me I'm well, and they start to lose touch with that intuition, that sitting, that feeling, that connecting with the baby, and not just health-wise, but I think emotionally it really helps as well. And that connection of the three of you, where you're having that beautiful interaction with each other, is very, very nurturing and helps make things safer. And it's like we've said on a previous episode where I had another client who was checking their own blood pressure. You can do these things. There are, you don't have to go to see a medical professional now to check your blood pressure. You can do it at home. So then why are you then going each week or every 2 weeks or whatever into a doctor's surgery where you might you're sitting in a waiting room, or even going into a hospital and you're sitting with people that might be infected, just to get someone to do a dipstick of your wee and listening to the baby and check your blood pressure. If you feel your baby's moving fine and everything's good, as much as that it's going to tell you to go in, really.
Yeah, I think also because it was our first time obviously being parents, but I don't think I would have recognised I think I did, obviously, in having the wild pregnancy, but I don't think I would have really viscerally recognised that level of intuition until I started co-sleeping with him. And just like, he wakes up and then I wake up, or I wake up and he wakes up, or he rolls off me and then I wake, just the level, that I don't know enough, you guys will be better obviously, but the level of research about what's ingrained in us as just being animals and mammals with young, I just think I don't know if there is, but actually that was insane. And that was really built up for me. Obviously for you, Alex, as you say, you're sort of having to do it vicariously through me, until he actually started kicking and you could feel that, obviously. But just really recognising that things would be fine. And even I ended up towards the end, maybe sort of 8 months or just shy of that, can't remember exactly when it was, I had a dream and that he was born. It was the only dream I'd ever had, and when he was actually born, he looked identical to that in my dream. Identical to the features and everything. So in terms of intuition and bodily intuition, you just honestly, I just think there's not enough research into that.
There definitely isn't enough, but it is there. And the maternity services that we have at the moment has no interest in all of the healthy research around conception, pregnancy, birth and infant nurture. They're really picky and about what they do accept as the body of evidence that they work from. And we know that the body of evidence that they work from is only 9% of it is grade A. So the rest is as worth as much as obstetric opinion. And obviously obstetricians are like carpenters with a hammer, everything's a nail. So it's really good that you're able to draw from research that has got a wider base than the RCTs that medicine want to work from, but also it's so good that you've got to see it. So it's one thing to read about it or to be aware of what we're capable of, but the other thing is that groundswell of feeling that you have, that you actually see it working out. We are way bigger than our bodies. We are much bigger than that. Even the kind of thoughts now around what the heart is, that it's a vortex, and how wide that vortex energy spreads beyond our skin, beyond the outline of our bodies. you can completely understand why you and your baby will have an energy connection that is not visible, but it's felt and you're feeling it. And Alex is feeling it too, because he connected with the baby and was comforted by that relationship between you and the baby before the baby was even born.
I mean, it's no different really, you know, when you at a party or something and someone walks in and you can, you know, you get a vibe of their energy or their like aura, you know, it's sort of, I link it, I guess, to that unseen.
I think it's when, like, even when choosing a pet, even when you chose your pet, you were responding to the energy signature of your pet. Even though she's really pretty, but it's her energy as well. So I think mammals connect in beautiful ways.
That's true. She looked at us. She gave us a look.
Yeah, I think
you're the one.
I was just thinking then that for both parties as well, like mum and dad, when you go into the process, whatever process you choose that you feels right for you, while birth, right through to. You want every medical hand on you at every single step. Just have an ounce of curiosity for whatever's being spoken to you. So if that was the biggest thing for me.
Think critically.
Yeah, just and okay, we're in a world where I wish, without getting political, people thought a bit more critically about what's being spoken on, whether it's the media or whatever else.
That's not gonna.
But so I think that could be a different podcast. Just you have agency to literally go on your phone, go on your laptop, your iPad, whatever, and Google and be like, midwife just said this, what does that mean?
Yes.
And don't just look at the standard, and it's not to say that it's wrong on these websites, but don't just look at the NHS websites, go on other forums, go on other channels.
Consent, isn't
like, just to give yourself an ounce of holistic knowledge and critiques from both sides to build your own case. And okay, it will open up more questions, and for some people it could confuse them. But
then listening to your gut, isn't it?
Literally was just going to say that deep down you will know the answer that you want. Like, 100%. And you can just start blocking out the other noises.
Yeah, I think a lot of trauma comes from birth when people do things that they are told to do by somebody outside of their body, by a medical professional, even when they're thinking, that's not right, that doesn't feel right for me, and they feel unable to speak up or to look into things more. Or, you know, I think, you know, especially as women, you know, being intelligent, speaking out, speaking your mind, it's like, you know, you're labelled bossy or a smart ass or whatever it is. There's these kind of derogatory things because questioning the status quo is uncomfortable for people. They don't like it, and so it then makes us uncomfortable to do it. It feels very hard, and throughout pregnancy, you know, as your oxytocin is increasing, you are becoming more socially like compliant. Basically, the hormones literally make you more compliant. So if somebody that is deemed a figure of authority tells you to do something, you are more likely to do it even if you don't feel it's the right thing. And that leaves a lot of people afterwards feeling uncomfortable.
I was going to say, isn't there a thing around, is it 36 weeks or something, where a birthing person goes into their fawn survival
34
response? 34. Yeah. So if you think then you're in your, because that's essentially like people pleasing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then at 36 weeks, you're actually incredibly vulnerable.
Yes.
And 34 weeks, you said.
But by it kind of builds from around 32 weeks.
Yeah.
And by 36 weeks, you're cooked. And that is when they do the third trimester scan. That's when they do the booking visit or the home birth
choices.
Yeah, or the birth choices out of guidance clinic, or 36 weeks is that magic time. It's not by accident that it will be done then. The same thing that isn't done by accident is when they come around for you to grade your birth experience 24 hours after you've given birth when in the hospital. So they'll ask you to do that little device then because you're still falling in love with your baby, even if you've had a really traumatic experience, so you've still got your rose-coloured glasses on. If they came to ask you on day 3, they won't get the same answers.
It might be different, and even longer than that sometimes.
Definitely by 8 weeks, because sometimes women are in a bit of a bubble, and then at 6 weeks they wake up and they realise what's happened to them, but they've already completed the questionnaire, 5 weeks and 2 days and 7 days, 5 weeks and 5 days earlier. So yeah, it's no accident that you're asked to make big choices after you're at your most vulnerable hormonally. Yeah, it's real deception. It's not, nothing is by accident.
It's very scary.
So talk to us a little bit, if you're happy, about birth, like just in the lead up to birth, the beginning of your labour. How did that feel? How were you guys feeling? Because your intuition, if I remember rightly, played a big part in that as well.
Big part. It's actually a bit bonkers. It was really, really lovely sunny weather.
Boiling.
But yeah, boiling. And I was like, we haven't had any. Lots of people do, like, I can't remember what they call it, like a baby moon, where they go away like before birth. I was like, let's just get an Airbnb somewhere close by, maybe sort of half hour, 40 minutes away, with a swimming pool. And literally, this is what, how many days before my due date?
2.
Oh,
no. It was about a week. It was about
a week before my due date. And I was like, let's go. I think we went Tuesday to. It was born on a Friday, wasn't it?
Tuesday. It was meant to be Tuesday to Friday.
Tuesday to Friday was we booked it. Really, really, really lovely place. And I decided, because Alex had to be at a conference on one of the days, on one of the evenings, up in Manchester. Oh, Liverpool, was it? So I was like, well, let's invite my brother, just in case something happens and we've got somebody there for that time. And my brother is like my best friend. He's just one of the greatest human beings in the world. And so we're quite playful together. We've got the same sense of humour. So I was really in an oxytocin bubble. And just loving it, board games. I was like not sleeping at all because the mattresses at this place were absolutely god awful. I slept on the floor at one point, and then I finally slept on the sofa.
It was like mid-30 degrees.
Yeah, like fully pregnant. There was like no aircon or anything. So I, preceding my birth, had very little sleep the 3 nights before, which is not ideal. And then on the Thursday evening, Alex had gone, and obviously the Friday morning, so we packed up, and my mucus plug had started going at this point. And I was like, oh, that could still be a while away. But I was like, do you know what? I'd rather go home tonight, on the Thursday night, than have to pack up when it's hot on the Friday morning. And I'd been getting Braxton Hicks contractions. And yeah, so we had, my brother and I ended up having some dinner, played some board games, and packed up the car. And I drove home, having Braxton Hicks contractions.
Wow.
Which turned out not to be Braxton Hicks, they were just full-on contractions. And I was driving home, just breathing through them, thinking, God, these random contractions. But they were just felt sort of like period pain. It wasn't, anything to write home about. Anyway, Alex comes back that night, late. It must have been about 11 o'clock.
Can't wait to put all the colour around this story.
Okay,
you
fine.
Keep going. Keep going.
This is how I remember it. Anyway, I thought it was about 11 o'clock. And I think Alex had got home, my brother had gone to bed, and we got into bed to go to sleep, and the contractions were coming, and I think we text Shellie, and she was like, don't chase the labour. And I said to Alex, I was like, God, they feel like they're getting a bit intense. And he was like, don't chase the labour.
Well done.
And literally, I swear to God, nanoseconds afterwards, my water broke in bed.
And for the record, she just did that to spite me. So.
Oh, yeah, she said, right, I'm going to break these walls all over this bed.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely, and I went, because it was dark in the room obviously, so I went into the bathroom because I wanted to check the colour, make sure there's no meconium or anything, and they were completely clear. And then they really started ramping up, and I was like, oh my God, because we'd been watching vlogs together and stuff beforehand of women birthing, and I was like, oh my goodness, if this is what the contractions are going to be like. I had the TENS machine on at this point, and I was like, if I've got like 7 days of this, I might end up in hospital.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I said to Alex, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this for a day or whatever I said. And then he was like, well, why don't we go downstairs and we can fill the pool up? Obviously for me, this all feels like it was in like 20 minutes. But Alex will be able to give you more of a time frame. And I went downstairs, and as we went downstairs, I then was against the sofa, and I was like, oh my God, this is the pushing that people talk about. I was like, he's coming, and I was like, it's going to happen right now.
Wow.
And I was like, I just said to you, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a land birth.
Wow.
And obviously, by then, what felt like 15 minutes later, Alex had filled up the pool, and I got in. And interestingly, when I got into the pool, the first contraction I had didn't feel as comfortable. And I was like, oh, maybe my body's not going to like being in water. I was like, I'll give it till the next one. And then the next one was fine. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then stayed in there. I don't know how much I want to say. Do you want to give a colour then to the lead up?
So you're getting this story twice, and then you can like
the real version.
So yeah,
It's nice.
Not the oxytocin version.
No.
Yeah,
So,
it's good because time dilation goes funny, so it's good.
Yeah, so we'd gone away, which again, in the back of my mind, I'm like, are we allowed to swear on this podcast? I feel like I've already sworn like 20 times.
Oh my God,
Yes.
we've got potty
Yeah, okay.
mouths.
I
Yes.
was like, this is fucking bad shit. Like,
I've only been holding it down because you're holding your baby. That's all.
Yeah. Oh God, no. I think it's
Come to be his first word.
I think it's going to be his first word.
Why didn't you say so?
Sorry, mate. We're going to get into trouble at school. So yeah, I was like, this is batshit. But luckily, I felt calm. Bex's brother was coming, and he's lovely, but doesn't know a single thing about birth. Doesn't want to know a single thing about birth, and just was there for board games. And we said we had a nice gaff booked in the countryside with a pool. Do you want to come? And he's like, yeah. By the way, I'm going to have to drive to Liverpool for a bit, so it put me at ease because I've been deliberating whether to go to this event.
Yeah.
And, reason because of a narcissist, and it was an award show, and I was up for an award, so I was like, obviously that takes precedence over baby.
Obviously. Clearly.
So the Tuesday was fine. We got there. Wednesday I was going late. Oh no, this is Thursday. So Wednesday was fine. And then Thursday I was like. I remember my last vision of Bex. She was sat on the toilet and she was having these random contractions because they were random at that point. There was no consistency.
Okay.
And I was like,
I was at the Braxton Hill.
And I was like, this is like I can turn around at any point. And she was like, no, just go. And Bex was super chill. And Bex will, believe you me, Bex will tell me if I shouldn't be doing something.
I can imagine.
So, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and we'll just speak loads. I'm only 2 or so hours away with a fast.
If anything, he rang me too often.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was playing bananagrams.
Yeah, but he doesn't know what's going on.
Stop getting in the way of my words. I'm gonna lose. Peel.
So we got to the event, and literally as I arrived, Bex was, I think you texted me saying my plug's gone or something like that.
No, I think maybe
because I showed it to a colleague.
I didn't get in the pool because I was so worried about. I was like, maybe I'll get an infection if I get in the pool, so I didn't even get in the pool.
Yeah. So and my colleague was like, well, I wouldn't be here, and I was like, so we had about 2 hours till the awards were coming on. And I had my ego head being like, yes, stick around, you might win. Get the free food. And then my other rational head being like, oh my God, if she gives birth and you're not there, that is over. Your relationship is over. All this
in the toilet, literally.
So anyway, I didn't really hear from.
You could have come back with snacks.
Yeah. I didn't really hear much from her, and then we sat down. We'd had starters, and Bex was like, okay, they're starting to speed up now. And I looked at the running order, and I had like 2 to go, and I was like, okay, can I hold on? Oh. And my award then came up, I didn't win, and
Oh.
I stood up immediately and just walked straight out. So they probably thought I was a delete diva because I didn't win.
They probably did.
Yeah, I was like, rational.
Did you have your other 2 courses?
Well, no, I didn't actually have pudding. I just had starters.
No.
pudding.
was very
Oh, Bex, come on! Yeah, making them miss out on pudding. Oh dear.
I don't remember saying they'd ramped up.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I still thought
You
they were
wouldn't remember a lot, Bex.
You said they'd ramped up, so you were leaving, and I was like, shit. If you're leaving, then the stuff's really changing now.
Yes.
And thank God you did leave, because if anyone needs to know, if you need to get from Liverpool to Warwickshire, South Warwickshire, in 2 hours, you can do it.
No, you can't.
No, you can't do it. That's
But you did.
And I got home about 11, and Bex is like, they're more consistent, and you were like really calm and really chill, and we said, let's go and try and get a couple of hours. Yeah. And I clearly had fallen asleep straight away. Yeah. Standard. And you'd been up and around, and then 1 a.m. you bolted to the bathroom pretty much, and you were like, oh no, something feels weird. And then I was like, don't chase it. Remember what Shellie said? Not in the tone that you said it earlier. Thank you very much.
It's how she heard it. It's how she heard it.
Yeah. And then, that was it. Waters broke, and I was like, oh shit, it's coming. And then we had about probably 2 hours of I would say
20 minutes.
Yeah, 2 hours of, I would say, quite severe. You had the TENS machine on. I was giving you a massage. We were still in bed at this point. And that was
you started recording them, didn't you?
On the phone. Using the app thing. And it was getting really consistent, and they were starting to come down. And we'd messaged Shellie, and I can't remember which one of us said, let's go downstairs.
I mean, you must have. I don't remember messaging.
Let's go downstairs, and we're just in the area. We'll get the pool up. We won't fill it. So we pumped it up, and it takes no time to pump it up. And then you went, literally on a dime, you're like, it's coming. And I was like, what? I haven't got the water in. And I'm like, then, like, legging it to the kitchen, trying to get the pipes into the tap, starting to fill it up. And I was like, in the back of my head, I'm also like, it's not coming. No way is it that quick. Yeah. And Bex then literally clicks into what I can only describe as this kind of like Zen state where she's doing the mooing, she's on all fours. Our dogs come down to check what's going on and licks Oya and licks Bex on the face. Aww. And then she's like, yeah, I'm not sticking around for this. And to bed. Got the water in, and we'd been messaging Shellie, and Shellie was like, "Just let me know, keep me up to date."
Gosh, you were doing an awful lot.
And you were just literally in this like cow mooey state. We wetted a big towel, and you said that was really nice on your back.
That was in the water.
Yeah,
though.
you're in the water now. And
then that towel was lovely because I actually felt quite cold.
And then then you were saying he's really starting to come now, and I was like, I can't remember what I said, but for dramatic effect, I was like, Shellie, come right now.
Yeah.
I was like, doors open, just be quiet.
All I remember is horse lips.
Oh, you don't? Yeah. And
I
was starting to think...
That's quite close. That's quite close to having a baby, horsey lips.
I was starting to see a fair bit of poop come out.
That's
I thought that was coming before the water.
No. Oh, there was.
Yeah.
There was one on the floor.
Yeah, I remember it because I was on the sofa and I was like, I think that was poo.
I almost stood on that.
Oh my God.
And then we're in the water.
Such an overshare.
Sorry.
Oh my word.
This is home birth.
Yeah, this is the colour you wanted to add, isn't it? This is the colour.
And then Bex is doing a thing in the water, and I'm starting to think, how can I... Bex didn't want me to move, she just wanted to be next to her.
Can I add something to that? Because I had read, so I don't know who it was, someone, I just remember seeing it, someone saying the dynamics in your relationship will play out in birth.
100%.
And there was a really beautiful moment for me where I funnily enough, I'm always nagging Alex to be more present. And I didn't want him to say anything. I just wanted him, his energy, his presence just there, and to just hold on to for safety. And just knowing he was there and I was holding on to him was literally like the most like beautiful. In fact, I remember you saying like, "Oh, you're doing a good job," or like,
"No, I was saying
work.
nice work."
And I just remember, because the weird thing I found was I could hear everything everyone was saying, and I was replying to them in my head, but I didn't have enough energy to say it out loud. But occasionally I would say something out loud, and there was one I just mustered and was just like, "Stop saying nice." The word nice just was going through me, like it just did not work. And I was like, "Say anything but nice."
Okay, I'll have to note that.
And I just remember being like, his presence was just literally like everything. And another thing as well that I think I said to Shellie already, when I saw Shellie walk in, because we were in the lounge and you can see the entrance to the house from where I was. In my head, it just went, and this is just so animalistic, I just went, "Oh, she's safe."
Oh.
And it was just like such a really beautiful moment, because I think it was then maybe an hour. And then he came out. But I was just like, I've got two safe, very present people who I can hear having conversations that are quite calm. And it was just like, just lush.
So perfect.
And I was relieved because I'd been on poop scoop duty, also massaging Bex, and Bex was like, "Don't leave."
Priorities.
But in the corner of my eye, I'm just seeing these floaters. So I was like, I needed another set of hands to poop scoop. And
Chief pooper scooper here.
Shellie didn't even blink.
No.
Straight in, apple bobbing. And so that, and this what's mad is everything we'd watched, and one of the things we'd listened to was about this poor lady that had essentially a 7-day labour. I had in my head we were going to have a 7-day labour, because that was, everyone else seems to have them long. So Bex got in the pool about 3. By about 5:30, he was out. So
first baby.
I could literally...
I barely got there in time. They were so relaxed. I just checked my messages, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. You text me to say the waters are gone. We're just going back for a relax, and then you then didn't call me until later, and I got there. I thought, oh, okay, wow, we're really having a baby.
Cracking on.
And also, just to add, what I remember that I just found so, I'll never forget this, it was just like the most beautiful thing. So I specialise in grief therapy, so I fully prepared, which I think you should in any scenario, personally. People might disagree. I think you should always be prepared until that baby is in your arms and they are healthy. There is a chance that they might die.
100%.
And we cannot control those things as much as we might like to think. There might be things that we can do.
We can control them down to a certain percentage, which is tiny, 0.2%. But there's still a 99.8% chance that you're not going to face that. But the fact that it's not 0% chance, I think the conversation has to be had by everyone who's hoping to have a child. Yeah,
exactly. And so I had fully sort of just had a protective layer around me that was just a bit like, until that baby is literally alive and in my arms, there's no guarantee.
100%.
But in that moment where I could feel his head coming, and I could feel his head, I could feel his hair, I could feel his ears, and that was the joy with every push. And actually, I quite liked the pushing stage. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's the burning stage, whatever." I maybe mitigated a bit in water, but I quite liked it because it felt more rest in between than the contractions.
There is. I'll just briefly explain why for the nerds. Because it's at that point of labour. So the whole of labour is an unusual situation for a baby. It's a hypoxic event. You've got these squeezes happening rhythmically, during which point they've got access to less oxygen than they do under normal circumstances during the pregnancy, because they're getting all their oxygen via the blood supply. So when you are doing the emergence part of the birth, that's the tightest squeeze during when the baby is in the vagina, and your beautiful body understands that unless someone's frightened you into getting the baby out quick, which is the fetal ejection reflex, which there's still more conversation about. It's not always adrenalised, but often it is. But because you were in this beautiful bubble, you had some adrenaline because it does come back to wake you up, just in case you're not in a safe place to get your baby out. So the beautiful body that you have working with your baby, all the cervix is gone. So it's not having the same feedback loop to the fundus for contractions, and they change because there's no cervix there. And so usually the contractions become shorter and more spaced apart, just so that your baby isn't exposed to reduced oxygen for longer than is necessary. And also, you know, my thoughts from watching it unfold so many times is that it's good for your tissues as well, because then they're not going to be stretched and ping as much as if you were rip-roaring through that stage. Anyway.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I found it so much nicer because the pushes felt to me much more intense, but then the rest in between, and even just a couple of times I remember my body just naturally shifting, and there was a little seat in the pool. I'd been on my knees, but there was a seat in the pool, and in between a couple of times I remember my body going, just go sit over there and stretch out your legs, they're getting a bit tired, which obviously was like, you know, just shifting. Your body needs to shift and something to make him come through.
They were very instinctive, those movements, weren't they, Becca?
Yeah.
Because I remember you saying, actually, because I'd filmed a little bit for them, and you were like, I don't remember doing that with my leg. You weren't consciously thinking about it. And this is the thing, that when you are undisturbed and you don't have people telling you what to do, you are really in your instinct and able to move in the way that you need to help your body be comfortable, but also your baby, that feedback between the two of you. And this is why it makes it less likely that there's going to be things like shoulder dystocia, you know, babies getting stuck, because you're moving in the way that you need to help the baby just move down into the right place and working together. And it's so wonderful. And as soon as someone starts talking in that situation, it snaps you out of that complete deep connection that is so essential, you know, and you were just breathing how you needed. Nobody's telling you what to do, and that creates an inherent safety in the birth that is it's very important.
Can I also add as well? So sorry, Bex.
No.
Can I also add that this relates to something you said earlier in the conversation, because you actually gave birth the way you live. You already were in that belief system, scenario, expertise, where you connect with your body. You're guided very well by your nervous system. You're locked into your intuition. So you could do that even at the most amazing point of your labour and birth. You could interpret what your body was telling you to do. Do you see what I mean? Because at that point, a lot of people, because it's something that is, you know, unknown, especially if it's your first birth, they then, their life, the way of living, they outsource for their safety. So they start looking for direction because of what they're feeling feels so otherworldly. But for you, thankfully, you've chosen the most amazing people to be around you who would allow you the space to reach into your intuition for what to do next.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, because there was obviously a part of me at times that I was like, you know, afraid of what would happen. You know, first birth, I had no experience of that. But one of the things I kept, and we didn't have any sort of mantras or anything on the wall. Did we? We had printed, but we didn't have time to get them on the wall. But one of the things I remember just saying, circulating in my head, sort of, you know, during pregnancy and in the labour, was many women have done this before me. You know, I'm not the first woman. It might be my first birth, but I'm not the first woman to give birth. You know, it's like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of women that have given birth. So that, I think, helped, that particular fear of sort of not having had the birth experience before. But yeah, I remember moving sort of instinctively. But the most beautiful part of it that I hadn't anticipated was the after each contraction, after each push, when I was pushing, in between loose lips, was just feeling how much more of him I could feel, and just how magical that was. Like, that's when I could feel myself starting to get really elated, and like just all
so
of that
happy.
protectiveness around.
He was so happy.
Yeah, I was literally just so elated with, oh my god, now I can feel, you know, that protective layer before. I was like, this is now my baby coming.
I mean, when you said you can feel his ear, I probably did the thing you absolutely shouldn't do, and I was like, got the vanity mirror, went straight in with my torch, and I was like, let me see. And you could literally see, like, his little ears sticking out.
It was
wild.
lush, wasn't it? And I was like, yeah, I just remember that. And then I remember his head was then out, and Shellie was like, okay, this next part, some people, I can't remember the exact words you used, but something along the lines of, you know, this next part people can find a bit challenging. And then just literally out it goes. There was like no port. It was just like, oh my god, it's here. Yeah. And then I just sort of, you know, got him out, and I was just literally like, you know, absolutely in heaven. I think I remember saying, he looks exactly like I did in the dream.
You just kept saying that over and over again.
It was just like, it was just so magical and calm. And just absolutely lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah, because when
absolutely lovely.
Yeah, when he came out and went straight into Bex's arms, and I'd obviously read and seen a lot of this, that it's not necessarily, I mean, it can happen in a million ways, but they don't always scream straight away when they've come out in water. So I was prepared for that bit, but I instantly I was like locking onto his face, and I was just very different to Bex's mode. I was just like, please be alive, please be alive, please be alive. That's just, my head was just cycling that over and over again. And then I saw him move, and he started making like noises. That was
so noisy, wasn't it?
I mean, hilariously, I think my relief was way more than yours, and you just gave birth. I just like burst into tears, and it was just I just couldn't stop crying for a minute. And Shellie not only is a brilliant doula, but a brilliant videographer, and had caught we hadn't asked her to do this. She caught all of this. We've got a whole birth.
Now I'm getting
camera.
So it's unreal to have that
it
captured.
Was loads. And I've watched it loads. I've sent it to about all friends and family.
Yeah. And all of them saying how calm. They can't believe how calm it was. That's what everyone on my side anyway said.
Oh, to capture that is so special.
Yeah.
Although I do remember fairly soon after that feeling absolutely knackered, and I was like...
You said the placenta was harder to get out than the baby.
Oh no, it wasn't harder to get out. I was just like, I can't... I was like...
You'd run out of beans.
No, I was just like, why am I having contractions? I've just done loads of work. Just like, bugger off. I didn't want any more contractions. But I was so knackered. I was like, I just need to have a sleep for a bit. I didn't really care about that. I was like, I'm just going to hold him. You guys, I don't know if I said this. I thought it in my head. I was like, just make sure he doesn't drown, because I'm sitting here and having a snooze. Yeah. And then I remember sort of, you know, having a few contractions and then standing up, and then my legs just
it took about an hour,
turned like jelly. And then, hilariously, even though he had gotten up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, my brother, by the way, who's still asleep upstairs...
We don't have like
slept through the whole thing. Slept througugh the whole thing.
We don't have, it's not like we don't have a big house. Just like a standard, like 2 up, 2 down type thing.
I forgot you had someone else in the house.
So hilariously, he comes down at about 7:30, 7.
Of course.
And I'm sitting on the hallway because I'd then gone, right, I'm going to go and try and have a wee.
Yeah.
But my legs were like jelly, obviously.
Yeah.
I'd, you know, so knackered, hadn't had anything to eat throughout the entire thing, just had water. And then I just had to sit down. Yeah, and he came down and...
It was so he's really tall. He's like 6'7". Yeah. And I saw his like head just poke down, and he was like, "What the fuck, a baby?"
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, could you get that on film, Shellie? Yeah. Oh man.
I'm sorry I didn't catch that. Would have been funny.
But one of the most beautiful things I think about this whole thing, because we ended up, because it was such a quick birth, he still had a bit of fluid in his lungs.
Yeah.
So we needed a little bit of oxygen. Later on in the day, his breathing, his rests were a bit high. But by this point, our independent midwife had come to check him out and just said, go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So he needed a bit of oxygen, but we were there for a few days because we don't have to get into that. But we were there for a few days because of their fear tactics. And we needed, because obviously we have a dog. Luckily, my brother had been here. And so he was just able to
So he just stayed with his fur,
so he stayed.
his
he
fur
stayed
nephew,
with our fur
or
baby.
his fur niece.
Yeah. But in all of this, I don't know how, maybe a couple of weeks before the birth. So our mum died when we were little. And I never really asked her for much. I tried to limit it to important things. So I'd asked her before. I said, "Can you send me some help for the birth?"
Yes.
Obviously, I had Alex. Obviously, I had Shellie.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we talk about is that actually she sent my brother.
Yes, she
So
did.
all of
She
that
would.
bonkers stuff with the Airbnb, etc.
Yeah.
And our son has, spiritual people believe this, he's got a little sun kiss birthmark on the back of his neck.
Is that his
which
grandmother?
A lot of people say means they've been kissed by an angel.
Yeah.
On the
Grandmother
way.
came and gave him a kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the way back. So yeah. So that was just, even though it was hilarious that he was upstairs with, I don't know how he slept through the mooing.
I don't know how. It's just
Absolutely hilarious.
I just think that was so hilarious. It was in the house the whole time. But you know, credit to that again. I mean, once you're in established labour anyway, you're not so aware of who's around. But I just think it's wonderful that you were so relaxed and could just potter around with your brother there. I think his calm, snoozing through your birth probably brought energy to it as well as your mother on the other side. Because I think mothers on the other side, personally, has been my experience. My mother, who crossed over 8 years ago, is even more powerful in my life than she was when she was on the planet. When she's on the planet, she was weighed down with her concerns and survival, etc. Once she crossed over, she's definitely in my corner. So I can imagine you being able to ask your mother for that. You see, this is the thing. Just like we can't see the Wi-Fi that we're using at the moment, there is so much going on around us that we can't see. And I think we're very close to being able to fully see it when we're in labour and birth. We're in that labour and birth portal. We are slightly altered. We're not quite earth-bound. It's kind of why when adrenaline comes in, it helps us to open our eyes and ground, because we really are flying when we're going to get these babies of ours. Is there anything else? I can't believe it. But as usual, Shellie and I usually end up running late because we can't help it, because we just can't help it. Is there anything either of you would like burning to convey to the listeners? So
if you're prepared to spend a lot of time and money and effort into big important things for you, like work or getting married or mortgages or whatever it might be, do the same with your birth. Research it, get clued up, surround yourself with different people, find out, because there's wealth of information out there. Find your community, and just believe in yourself, I suppose, that your partner, yourself, can do it. I mean, I will always recommend free birthing and particularly women stepping into their kind of intuition. So yeah, I would always promote it. But obviously for a lot of people that's scary, but whatever your intuition is, really, really go into it, and don't let fear rule, because I think fear, particularly at the moment, just socially and politically, everybody's in fear, and in their fight and flight modes, but try to ground yourself and just, if you're willing to put as much energy and time into that, do the same for your birth. That's probably what
Perfect.
Yeah, and I guess from my side, it seems to be a word that gets batted around quite a lot at the moment. It's like the word of 2025. But you've got certainly agency as the partner and the anyone involved in the process to be curious and question everything. Not to question it to be belligerent and say black is white or that type, go down that argument, but to literally, if someone has suggested something or told you you've got to do this, let's call it procedure, or this next thing, just do a little bit of research online to see why, and just that knowledge really, really helps. And to what Beck said, helps that fear element, because it's so easy to be just a passenger in this process. You get, certainly from, I guess, the partner's side, you can get on the NHS train and then you go into this midwife appointment, you go into this midwife appointment, and then all of a sudden you're in the operating theatre and cesarean. And I'm not saying there aren't instances when that's needed, but you absolutely should be curious enough, which is in such an incredible process, to know what's going on. And I mean, we've got, Bex and I aren't yet married, and for no reason other than we put all the money into doing a kitchen. And we've seen friends of ours spend literally years planning marriages, planning their weddings, putting tens of thousands of pounds into their weddings. And again, no discredit to them, they're brilliant events, but like, this is a living being that is going to be with you for the rest of your life. That is a party with a celebration of your love, which I'm not saying is sorry, we've got our dog.
The dog is celebrating. I know exactly what she's doing. She's got the zoomies. She's like, yes, come on, people, spend money and time on your birth. You want it to go well.
Yeah.
Cheerleading in the background.
So yeah, just
and just you're so much
seriously.
more powerful than humans are so much more powerful than they realise as well.
Yes.
I think.
So yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. Alex, do you know, and Becca, I want to say a huge, huge thank you to you both for coming on today, and especially to you, Alex, because, you know, I was talking with Kemi about it, and we wanted to have more partners' voices on the podcast, because I think it's really helpful, not just for the people that are birthing, but also for partners to hear both sides, both ways of feeling, both things that cropped up, because I think often when women fall into a kind of oxytocin bubble, they become more relaxed about things, and partners don't have the same hormonal support in that way, so it can be more, there can be more difficulty with fears, with, you know, outside voices coming in that influence you in that way. And so hearing your process of going through that and what helped you, and the chats and the learning about things, and like you say, looking up stuff for yourself, is it's really wonderful to have that information for people, from a male perspective as well as a female perspective. So I'm really grateful for your time with that. Yeah, it's been, and obviously also, I love you guys very much.
And also, just to say, you know, I'm in a different generation to you. I'm Generation X, and I feel that you choosing to create a decent kitchen and invest time and money in your birth by far take priority over the wedding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Fine,
I
you'll
think,
get an invite when it comes.
Yay! Oh God, I wondered. I was trying to think, how am I going to get an invite? So yeah, I just feel like it's testimony to your heart, and your sense of fun. I've really enjoyed chatting with you this last hour or so, but your common sense as well. You can see that what's gone into the way you two flow is absolutely it's love, but it's also common sense and intuition. What a beautiful blend of people to be raising all of your babies. I expect at least 6.
I know, I'd love that.
I expect at least 6. Yeah.
Your wedding invite's just been retracted.
Oh, it was all going so well. I was going to pick
won't have
out a
space for
hat
you.
and everything. I'm going to pick out a hat and everything.
Too many
All right.
babies. Well, thank you
Thank you
very
guys.
much. Thank you to everyone for listening to another birth story that was untethered from fear, untethered from the conveyor belt of nonsense that we keep seeing. And you've had some really excellent tips of information and things to do to help you there from the wonderful Alex and Becca. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
See you next time.
Bye.
You can sign up to the Birth Untethered mailing list from the link in the show notes, become an Untethered Rebel, support the show, and join the growing community that meet together online each month to share collective wisdom, support one another, and also to receive extra resources that supplement podcast episodes. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and may not reflect those of the hosts. This content does not replace professional medical guidance.